Are today's young people truly weaker than past generations? This question, often posed with a disdainful smirk, deserves a closer look. The world throws curveballs at every generation. It's too easy to forget the struggles of the past, to romanticize the good old days while overlooking the grit it took to survive them. Each generation inherits its own set of challenges, its own societal anxieties. To judge one as inherently weaker than another is to miss the point entirely. It's the resilience in the face of these challenges that truly defines a generation. The hardships faced by those who lived through the Great Depression, for example, are undeniable. They endured economic collapse, widespread poverty, and a world at war. These experiences undoubtedly shaped their outlook and fostered a sense of resourcefulness that saw them through unimaginable adversity. But does that mean subsequent generations, spared such large-scale hardship, are somehow lacking? To suggest so is to ignore the very nature of progress. Each generation builds upon the successes and learns from the failures of those that came before. The world today is vastly different from the one our parents and grandparents inherited. The challenges are different, the tools are different, and the skills needed to navigate this new landscape are different. Instead of lamenting some perceived decline, perhaps we should marvel at how quickly young people adapt to these ever-changing circumstances. This ability to learn, to adapt and to innovate is not a sign of weakness, but of remarkable resilience. The youth of today are not defined by their challenges, but by how they rise to meet them. One of the most significant shifts in recent decades is the rise of the digital age. Today's young people are digital natives, growing up with technology that would have seemed like science fiction to previous generations. This technological fluency is often misconstrued as superficial, but it's actually a powerful tool that empowers them in countless ways. The internet has democratized information, providing unprecedented access to knowledge and learning resources. Young people are leveraging this access to educate themselves, connect with others, and build communities around shared interests. They are not passive consumers of information, but active creators, using technology to express themselves, share their ideas, and build businesses. This entrepreneurial spirit is particularly striking. Unburdened by the traditional barriers to entry that hampered previous generations, young people are starting businesses, developing apps, and disrupting industries with a speed and agility that is truly remarkable. They are not afraid to experiment, to fail, and to learn from their mistakes. This willingness to embrace risk is not recklessness. It's the mark of a generation that understands that the greatest rewards come from pushing beyond perceived limitations. Furthermore, the global interconnectedness fostered by the digital age has cultivated a strong sense of social consciousness among young people. They are acutely aware of the challenges facing our world, from climate change to social injustice, and they are actively engaged in finding solutions. They are using their voices to advocate for change, mobilizing movements online, and holding those in power accountable. This passion for making a difference is not a passing fad. It's a defining characteristic of a generation determined to leave the world a better place than they found it. The world today is undeniably complex. Globalization, rapid technological advancements, and shifting societal norms have created a landscape that is both exciting and daunting. Young people are navigating this complexity with a level of awareness and sophistication that belies their years. They are growing up faster, exposed to a wider range of perspectives and experiences than previous generations could have imagined. This exposure, while challenging, has fostered a sense of empathy and understanding that is essential in an increasingly interconnected world. Young people are more likely to embrace diversity, to challenge prejudice, and to advocate for inclusivity. They are comfortable navigating different cultures, communicating across borders, and building bridges of understanding in a world that desperately needs them. Of course, this doesn't mean that today's youth have all the answers. They're still figuring things out, making mistakes, and learning as they go. But to dismiss their efforts, to label them as entitled or narcissistic, is to ignore the very real challenges they face and the remarkable resilience they demonstrate every day. They are grappling with issues like climate change, economic inequality, and political polarization, issues that previous generations have struggled to address. It's easy to criticize from the sidelines, to point out the perceived shortcomings of a younger generation. It's far more difficult to acknowledge the complexity of the world they're inheriting, and to appreciate the efforts they're making to make it a better place. Instead of focusing on their perceived weaknesses, let's celebrate their strengths, their adaptability, their technological prowess, their social consciousness, and their unwavering belief in a brighter future. Critics often point to the prevalence of social media in the lives of young people as evidence of their narcissism and superficiality. The endless stream of selfies, the obsession with likes and followers, the carefully curated online personas, all of this is seen as indicative of a generation more concerned with appearances than with substance. While it's true that social media can foster unhealthy comparisons and a distorted sense of self-worth, it's important to remember that it's just one facet of their lives. To define an entire generation solely by their online presence is to miss the bigger picture. Just as previous generations found ways to connect and express themselves through the mediums available to them, so too are young people today utilizing the tools of the digital age. Moreover, social media has become a powerful tool for activism and social change. Young people are using platforms like Twitter, Instagram and TikTok to raise awareness about issues they care about, to organize protests and to hold powerful institutions accountable. The movements for climate justice, racial equality and LGBTQ+ rights have all been amplified and accelerated by the power of social media. This digital activism is not without its critics, who argue that it's often performative and lacks real-world impact. However, to dismiss it entirely is to ignore the very real change it has effected. Social media has given a voice to those who have been historically marginalized and ignored. It has allowed young people to connect with like-minded individuals, to build communities around shared values, and to mobilize for causes they believe in. To truly understand this generation, we need to look beyond the superficiality of social media and recognize the ways in which they are using these platforms to connect, to learn, to create, and to make a difference in the world. This is not a generation defined by vanity. It's a generation that understands the power of connection and is harnessing that power to create a more just and equitable world. It's undeniable that today's young people face a unique set of pressures. The world is changing at an unprecedented pace, and with it comes a sense of uncertainty about the future. Climate change poses an existential threat, economic inequality is widening, and political polarization is eroding trust in institutions. It's no wonder that anxiety and depression rates are on the rise among young people. They're inheriting a world grappling with complex problems that previous generations have failed to solve. The weight of these challenges can feel overwhelming, leading to a sense of disillusionment and despair. It's easy to become cynical, to question whether their efforts will make any difference in the face of such daunting obstacles. However, it's important to remember that this awareness of the world's problems is not a sign of weakness, but of empathy and a deep-seated sense of responsibility. They are not content to inherit a broken world, they are determined to fix it. This drive to make a difference is a testament to their character, not a cause for alarm. Instead of dismissing their concerns as youthful naivety, we should be listening to them, learning from them, and supporting their efforts to create a better future. They are the ones who will inherit the consequences of our actions, so their voices deserve to be heard and their ideas taken seriously. Their passion, their idealism, and their unwavering belief in the possibility of a better world give us all reason to hope. In conclusion, the notion that today's young people are weaker than previous generations is a fallacy. They are not weaker, they are simply different. They are growing up in a world that is vastly different from the one their parents and grandparents inherited, and they are adapting to those changes with remarkable resilience and ingenuity. They are digital natives, comfortable navigating the complexities of the digital age. They are globally connected, more aware of and empathetic to the challenges facing our world. They are passionate about social justice, committed to making a difference, and unafraid to challenge the status quo. They are not perfect, but they are not defined by their flaws. They are a generation of change makers, and the future is in their hands. Instead of lamenting some perceived decline, let's celebrate the strengths of this generation. Let's nurture their talents, support their endeavours, and empower them to create the world they want to see. The challenges they face are real, but so too is their potential. Their resilience, their creativity, and their unwavering belief in a better tomorrow give us all reason to be optimistic about the future. The kids are all right. In fact, they might just be our best hope.